Hello friend. I just got done with my morning walk, and so I thought we would do a quick walkthrough of the garden, just kind of take a peek, what's still holding on, what's really struggling. Today is August the 10th. Still have a lot of things growing, a lot of things holding on. Some things, it's time to cut them out, make space for things in the fall garden. So let's just do a quick walkthrough. So we'll start over here, winter squash. I think these were dumplings. They are really sad because of vine borers and squash bugs. The watermelons, some of them are doing okay. Some of them have really bad blossom end rot. We have a few still growing, looking lovely. We're just kind of let them do their thing, I guess. Let them sprawl out. We're getting another flush of blackberries on. Got a lot of blossoms still coming up. The elderberries are setting. These over here started turning, and the birds have pretty much taken most of what was over here. But I'm probably going to come out and I'll cut what I can and then cover some of these. There's so many that we may try to share with the birds this year, and hopefully still get enough to harvest to make elderberry syrup. The loofah gourds have gone kind of crazy. They're making a huge curtain out here. It looks really magnificent in the garden. The bees are loving the flowers. I don't know how much more fruit it's gonna set. We're getting kind of late in the season. I don't know that it'll have time to really finish getting mature, but it's gorgeous. The goats will enjoy it when it's time to pull it. The jalapenos are looking pretty good. I picked a ton off whenever I did salsa last week, and I'm hoping to get a big flush of jalapenos to be able to do some like jalapeno poppers and things. These beans, I've decided I'm just letting them dry, and I'm gonna pull them as dried beans, probably to save for seed. I don't know. I really didn't have a plan for these when I put them in, and I kind of failed on that aspect, I guess. So they're just kind of here. But the good thing about peas and beans is legumes put nitrogen back into your soil. They have these little nodes on their roots. So whenever I cut them at the ground and leave the roots to break down, it'll actually feed the ground. So they're not here for nothing. They'll help next year's crop. This row of tomatoes is looking a little sad. It's time to really either come in and do some heavy pruning or pull a few of these. It's funny, the top growth looks great, and it's still putting off a whole bunch of tomatoes. It just looks sad. These strawberries, they're trying to make a comeback. And I've got all these basils in the cinder block beds, and then some other herbs. The sage is looking great. I need to come and harvest and dry some more of that. The parsley's looking awesome. I need to dry more of that too. Blueberry is doing really well. The lavender is growing really great. I haven't gotten any blossoms yet. I've never grown lavender from seed before, so I'm assuming it's more of a perennial. Maybe it'll flower next year. I don't know. The raspberries have just really gone crazy. I cut them back and they're bushing out. So I learned about pruning raspberries, and that they will bush out and make more berries actually. I've got strawberries kind of spreading and taking off in there. We have the strawberry swimming pool filling out and looking good. I'll be having to mulch that pretty soon for winter. We have this bed of tomatoes over here that really isn't doing anything anymore, so I think I'm going to cut these out and give these peppers more space to do their thing. This plant is pretty pathetic looking. It's my Rosella tomato, but it's starting to put on some new fruits. This plant, I need to come pick. That one completely died. This cherry tomato plant is, you know, still putting off some cherries. This one is looking really bad. I may come in and do some heavy pruning on this one. Just open it all up. These ox hearts over here, and some other slicing tomatoes that I'm waiting on. They're still looking fairly healthy. Got some blight and dead limbs, but overall they're okay. The Kajari melon was stunted, but it's taking off. We might actually get some Kajari melons before first frost. And then we've got another cherry tomato plant here that it's been rocking it, man. And then we have all of our cucamelons. We haven't gotten very many off of here. It's been so hot that I think that the blossoms have just been drying up. But with the cooler temps and the rain, I think we're gonna get a big flush of the cucamelons coming in. So I'm excited about that. These big snacking peppers are looking great. They're starting to blush and turn. So that's awesome. I'm waiting for these. I think these are not pinos. I'll probably pick those and use them soon in some sort of recipe. The rose bush is looking good. I need to train it up onto the trellis a little more, letting off some new growth. This tomato is just looking sad. I think it needs more light, maybe more water. I don't know. I'm gonna let those tomatoes ripen up and then I'll cut it, I guess. Just got a few things, some basil, rosemary, and then more rosella tomatoes. This plant's looking a little sad. It has fallen over so many times. Every time there's a light breeze, it falls over, no matter how well I stake it down. So this bed's looking, you know, a little pathetic over here too. The tomatoes, I'm not sure we're gonna get much more out of these. Depends on what the weather does. We have a ton of peppers starting to turn a bit of colors. These big snacking peppers, I'm gonna have to bring something over here to support these. So I'm trying not to get into the ant's nest there. Got my basil. Yep, I'm gonna have to bring something over here. These are getting some damage. Should go ahead and pick those, I guess. I ran right into a spider web. It was a huge one. It was spanned from that tomato bed all the way over here. My fall run of cucumbers and some squash coming up. We should have enough time to get things out of those before our first frost. We still have about 80 days or so, I think. I planted another run of bush beans here, but the heat just wiped them out. Like, they just couldn't hack it. So I only have a few left. I think I'll just use these to save seed maybe. I have a whole another row of them over in the front garden. The tall sunflower is done and dropped all of its seeds, so I need to come and just chop that, take it to the goats and chickens. This tomato plant is really taking over, being large. I've got some banana peppers in there I need to pick. And this cantaloupe is just now filling out. We might get some cantaloupe before the frost. I planted these seeds back in the spring and they are they've just been stunted, I guess. I don't know, but hopefully we'll get some cantaloupe. Seem to be slow going. Go ahead and pick these banana peppers. There's the squash that we're allowing to just decompose in place and let it reseed next spring. So we'll keep an update on that, how it's doing all winter, I guess, and then what we get in the spring. My cayennes are looking amazing. Got some turning red there, so hopefully we get some good cayennes to dry and make powder. This tomato plant's done. I can come and cut that out, I think. These Kalima beans are trying to blossom. I think it's just too hot. And then I've got another rosemary bush here. I need to come and trim some rosemary off and take it in. These are Armenian cucumber. I just planted these not too long ago, so they're just getting going really. But we should start getting some fruit off of it pretty soon. We'll probably get some before the frost happens. Let's try to keep them trained up here onto the trellis. Here's the noodle beans. It's still putting off some. At this point, I'm just gonna allow it to continue to mature and make seed. Last year, I had to buy more green noodle beans, but I had a bunch of red noodle bean seed, and I planted all of my seed that I had saved. This side, you can see how green and full and lush it is. It outproduced this side. This is the side I planted a bunch of freshly ordered green noodle bean seeds, and it didn't get as full. It didn't produce as many. It was later. I planted them at the same side. This one is still kicking, still putting off noodle beans. It started producing faster. So I'm definitely going to save seed, because I feel like not only are volunteer plants stronger and hardier, I think that whenever you save seed from something that grows well for you in your area, those consecutive plants that you plant later on from that seed, I feel like it does better in your garden. Like you get a better yield. It's used to your climate and whatnot. So I'm going to run that experiment. I'm interested to see if the seeds that I save out of the green noodle beans, how well they do next year. Saving seeds out of beans, you have to let them get to full maturity on your vine. You can see here out of this one, see how it's getting knobby and kind of wrinkly looking? Each one of these knobs is a bean that is coming to maturity. But just like any other plant, you have to let it get to full maturity. Oh, leaf footer bugs, man. Y'all are the bane of my existence too. Anyways, so gotta let them get to full maturity. So the goats can't have these vines just yet, because I really want to save seed, especially out of the green ones. The purple ones, also, this will be my second year saving seeds out of this particular strain. So since they did so well for us, I want to make sure I save the seed for them. I forget what kind I planted, but this is some sort of cucumber plant. I planted a few weeks ago. It's just getting going. I think it's just been so hot and we've had so little moisture and rain that it's taking things a lot longer to germinate. These tomato plants are doing well still. They're okay. They're crowded, but they're making some really big fruit. I don't know if it's going to produce anything more. Oh, do you guys see this damage here? You see how there's leaves, stem missing? That is hornworm damage. So we're gonna have to come out and hunt for some hornworms with the black light. I see more damage here. See how all the leaves have been stripped off of here, all the way down this one. That's hornworm. They're so hard to see in the daylight because they mimic the leaves. They curl, they sit on the underside of the stem and make you think that they're just part of the tomato plant. They have really good camouflage. I see damage over here too. So, yep, it's time. This is like a gardener's Where's Waldo game. Where's the hornworm? Where's the hornworm? There's a nest of fire ants in this bed too. Ugh. So I have a bunch of parsley and sage over here. This dill went to seed and I just let it do its thing. This plant is pretty much done. It's cherry tomatoes. I need to pull it. I had some beans over here, but they're looking kind of sad and sick, so I'll probably just cut those out. This tomato plant is still growing. The fruit's looking a little sad and gnarly, but it's bushed out and really healthy looking. The zinnias, I haven't been deadheading them because it's just been hot. I ain't been out here to mess with it. I need to come over here and pull the grass out and do some mulching, probably cut a lot of the zinnias back. Some of them are still looking good. Some of them are on their way out. They're just looking kind of diseased and sick. I need to make sure that my perennial plants that I have in here have plenty of space to be able to get some sun to store what they need to get through winter. Like that right there is my black hollyhock. I need to make sure that it's getting what it needs. So we may come out here and thin a bunch of stuff in the garden today. It's about 75 out right now and there's a nice cool breeze. So the grapes are making a great comeback after I pretty much just cut them back to nothing. It's growing really well. This one was even trying to put off more blossoms and fruit, because this side never really made fruit to maturity because it was so overgrown. Of course, we have fire ants on this too. So I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of my container gardening around the greenhouse. Got some basil stuck in. This one here on the front porch of the greenhouse has got basils and a rosemary. Still don't have anything in these pots. Some peppers that probably aren't going to fruit before the frost, but give them an opportunity. Got to make some pesto. I have a lot of the basil is going to seed, and that's okay too. These are the impatiens that my daughter gave me for Mother's Day. One of the preschool teachers at school had extras and had her plant them in a little cup and give them to me. I thought that was really sweet. And I put them here and I love looking at them. It's really grown well this year. I put a bunch of basil here. It's time to harvest that too. The rose bush is pretty much done. I need to trim it back later. And then we've got the hollyhocks. A bunch of seeds that I threw in here, just kind of seeing what would take. Had a lot of black-eyed Susans come up. This tomato plant was a volunteer and we've just kind of let it do its thing. It hasn't produced any fruit, but you know, I have a ton of basil out here. I need to come and harvest a bunch of basil today. We have these plants over here. This is just a mint plant. The heat's really gotten to it, but then we have the lemongrass. And this plant here is a rosemary and some of, I forget, some kind of moss or something. And then we have a wild thyme in there. And then over here, we have some thyme and another basil. I think that's all that's left living in here. There was some dill, it went to seed. It looks like it's trying to make more seeds. This side of the greenhouse, this one's still empty, still empty. This is Geranium Kiss, dwarf tomato. It's looking pretty lovely. It's still setting some fruit. It was a late starter. This pot's still empty. So let's go check out the front garden, which really both of my big gardens are front gardens, but this one's like literally in the front yard of my house. So this is my second run of bush beans. These are Kalimas. I also have some potatoes mixed up in here somewhere. They didn't do great, so they're kind of just mixed in. Just let them do their thing. There's potatoes over there. I planted a squash right there in that spot, but it hasn't come up yet. I think it's just been too hot for germination even. But so I have Kalimas here. I've got some Kalima beans plugged in over there. I'm hoping that we get some beans to eat, but if not, I'm hoping to at least get some for seed. This row of tomatoes was just an extra bunch of tomatoes that my mom got from one of the garden centers. They were trying to get rid of tomato plants, so they were giving them away. And you know, we don't turn down free plants, especially tomatoes. So they're over here living their best life. And then our purple hull peas are finally starting to produce and turn. So it's just been a little at a time. Hopefully they pick up the pace pretty soon. I think I'm going to plant a lot more of these. These, however, are not bush. They're at least half runner. I don't know, because you can see that one's climbed up the pole over there. And then we got some cucumbers here that are really struggling with the heat. Some more cucumbers, which the beans are trying to take over everything, or the peas, these cow peas. They're trying to take over everything. We have a lot of watermelons over here. They're looking pretty good, growing out into the grass. Got some okay size ones. We're hoping that they do a little better than the ones over in the other garden. Now we've got some squash and some cucumber. I'm not really sure how a cucumber plant ended up over here, because this was all squash and watermelons, but I guess we accidentally dropped a cucumber seed over here. And that's okay, because we've been getting cucumbers from it when I'm not getting cucumbers anywhere else. So I just got to keep it out of the melons, otherwise I'll never be able to find them. So I'm just trying to keep an eye on them. This corn, y'all, I just don't know. We harvested 5 or 6 ears. Like, this one feels like it might be ready. Like, I know you wait till the corn silks are dry, but I felt like all the corn was still like not quite ready. I'm thinking I'm gonna come in, and any of the bigger ones that are dry, I'm gonna pick, I guess, and just see where we're at. Because we still have a lot of really small ones, but I feel like they've missed out on the pollen. I read that as corn gets ready, it leans out and then it will like even hang down. So the ones that I picked were doing that. But I'm afraid that if I wait too long, especially with all this rain, we're gonna have a problem. The new peach tree, peach/plum tree, is looking pretty good. I mean, it's been really hot and dry. We've been trying to make sure and keep it watered, but it's looking okay. This poor fruit cocktail apple tree, on the other hand, is sad, sad, sad. I hope that all of the limbs make it, because it's only a cocktail apple tree if like all of the limbs stay alive, because the grafting is where the limbs that were grafted to the main stock are the ones that produce the different apples. So like, if this limb dies, we won't get any Fuji apples. If this limb dies, we won't get any Gala apples. The yellow delicious is still kicking. These are looking a little sad, and we've been trying to make sure and keep them watered, but it's just been so hot, y'all. I don't know. I'm hoping it bounces back. Then we have this lovely pear tree that I tried to prune to keep small, but you guys, it just wants to grow up. I had this one limb that like grew out, and then that one that grew out, and then this one right here. The rest of them, I don't know. I can't figure it out. So I'm just gonna let it do its thing. I don't know how we're gonna harvest fruit in the coming years, but we're just gonna do our best. This is like the only pear that's left. The rest of them got a little like, you know, they shriveled up. This one's got some blossom end rot looking stuff on it. And I think that's it. Everything else shriveled up. But we got one little pear. I mean, I'll take it. Maybe we'll get more next year. This is the first year I didn't prune it and we got fruit. So I'm kind of like, well, maybe I'll just let it go. Hey friends, I just realized that I forgot to close this video out. So I just wanted to thank you for walking through the garden with me. And I hope that you'll continue to join us as we go on this journey and as we take looks at the garden. Have a great day and keep planting.